All right, so I know this video is a little bit different from my usual content, but it's the winter time and not much going on with the car right now. So I'm working on this project. It's a Razor 800. Got it for a good deal, and now I'm trying to restore it a bit, clean it up, paint it, and it needs some things. Here you can see it needs that axle or CV boot. I got axles for it. The tie rod boot. What else? Needs lug nuts for the wheels. Needs a battery. I already put a fuel pump in it. Right now I'm painting it, repainting it because it was a little rough. And then here are those axles. I just picked up the axles, and I got a pretty good deal on them. Yeah, so here are the axles. Got a good deal on them. I don't need all four. I only need one. So when I sell it, I might just tell them, like, you know, it'll come with extras. It'll come with 3 extra just in case they end up needing it. I just throw those in there with it. But yeah, that's what I got going on right now. Nothing too crazy going on. So I actually haven't checked the rear axles, so I don't know if these are good or not, but I'm hoping they are. If not, I have extras. Also had to bleed the brake system because there was no brake fluid in it. So I had to refill the brake system, I should say. And that was a new process for me. Refilling the brake system from it being completely empty. I had to do a weird method to do that. So what I did was, since all the lines were empty, I had to pump the brake fluid in through the lines and fill up the lines from this end instead of going straight to the reservoir, because all of these are tied in. All the front and the rear brakes are tied into this one reservoir. So it'll be kind of tough to bleed them all at the same time. So I fill up the lines first. Then I would loosen this up right here until it starts squirting out. These are for the front, and then there was 2 on the rear. So once it starts squirting out, I know the lines are full. Tighten that back up, and then do that for the rear, and then start the same process as if I was just bleeding the brakes now. So, you know, pump them through that fitting right there and crack that loose, pump the brakes, and then fill that up as it gets lower to get all the air out. And I'll go around to all 4 and do that. So that was pretty much the method that I used for bleeding the brakes or refilling the brakes. So yeah, this thing is pretty fun. I took it out already. Drove it on a dirt road. That's where I lost the lug nuts, because this axle or CV boot had this thing just twisting, and while I was riding it, I guess it just twisted the lug nuts right off because the wheel was at an angle. So yeah, gotta fix that and get the lug nuts. So lug nuts already ordered. This thing has a winch too. The winch works pretty good. I didn't get to use it really, but I tested it out. It does work. It would be fun to use a winch because I've never used one before. But yeah, and that's pretty much it. If you guys are interested in this thing and want to see it on the channel a bit more, just drop a comment, let me know. what I should do with it if you want to see it more, or, you know, any ideas before I sell it. So probably gonna sell it soon. So while we're here, I'll take you guys through the process of changing this axle. I think it's terrible. First, I'm gonna remove the cotter pin so I can break loose this axle nut. So after removing the axle nut, I'm gonna remove the brake calipers, which is that bolt right there, and there's another one on the bottom. And this whole assembly here will be able to slide right out. So next, I'm gonna break loose the 2 bolts holding onto the bearing assembly, which is this and this one here at the bottom. And after I take those off, I'll be able to pull this right off. After you get those out, you're just gonna hammer these out. You're gonna hammer this up. You're gonna hammer the A-arm down so they can slide out of there. So once you get that loose, you're just gonna pull the axle out and give it a good tug here. And it'll come right out. It wasn't that easy. I had to get a rope and tie it to it and just kind of yank on it. So here's the damage, and gonna be replacing it with a new one. So I ended up having to buy a new CV boot. I'm just gonna reuse this axle because it wasn't snapped or anything. The only issue was the boot. So yeah, I'm just gonna reuse this one, and I have a new boot here, and I'm just gonna put that boot back on here. So the first thing I'm gonna do now is just take this grease and put it in here. I already kind of cleaned out all the dirt. I couldn't get all the grease out, but did as best as I could. I'm gonna fill it back up with grease and then just slide it back on there, or actually put the boot on first, then slide this back on there and clamp it back up, and that'll be it. All right, so after you fill it up with the grease in there, next, you're just gonna put this on, slide this back on here, and lightly tap this to slide it all the way back on, and put this boot over it. Now when you do this, you wanna make sure there's no grease around this ring right here or on the inside. So just kind of clean that all off, because that grease will cause it to slip once you put that clamp on. So now that we got that on, we'll just do the reverse order to put it back in. So we'll slide that in, or clean that in up first, slide that back in there, and after that, put everything back on and button it back up. Well, actually, I have to change this boot too, but yeah, that was pretty much it. To change this boot, you just take this off, slide this boot off, and then slide it back on, and, you know, do the same thing. Put grease on it and everything. But yeah, that's it.